Hello and welcome to the Crafsman Show. My name is your host, the Crafsman. In today's video, I'm probably going to be using letters, to save time because, this way I don't have to be doing the letters on the computer with digital technology. I just can, spell things like that. Do y'all see on the movies how they snatch that tablecloth out from under a table, and then all the salt shakers and everything, and the vase and the flowers arrangements and all still staying there? Watch this right there. Let me show you something. Anyway, to be honest with y'all, this entire episode is fitting to be bonkers. Do y'all remember bonkers? I have been working on some little character things, and I have not fully utilized my 3D printer. I've done some little odds and ends things on it, but I said, let me take something and keep it, Craftsman kind of style looking, doing, and then but also to do some 3D technologies up and so what it was, originally I was working on some little different things, and I was coming up with a little 8-bit looking style pixel characters, and even came up with remind me to tell you I had to do silicone mask and things for production that you can do templates and colors and things. Anyway, that led to let's see anyway, led to little design right there, and then led to this right there. And I said, organic hair, question mark, because I had thought about, what if we do like a little boxy looking suit, and then have a little regular looking little, just a simplified kind of head. And I came over here and was, working on that. But anyway, so that led me to this right there, just real simple like that. And I just started playing around with it. And by the way, I have a tendency to draw things on the right side of the paper instead of going just straight on over, which I will do. I would just flip right back down and draw on the back side of this paper, you know what I'm saying? And so anyway, what was I saying? So I said, I came up with this idea for a character that could be customizable. The spacesuit would be cast out of a rigid plastic. Alright, but it would not have all these details on it. It would come with the details, but you stick them onto wherever that you see is right with you. So it would be this basic looking box, a little man with a little socket like that right there. And then the little head would be made out of rubber, flexible. Alright. And then you would just pop that little head in there. And then it would come with all these little greebles right there. Do y'all know about greebles? Anyway, greebles, aka some people call them nurnies. And so what it is I figured out a way that I can do this in production, because this obviously would be the first time I ever had did a character that came with so many pieces. But it'd be coming with 15, 20, 30, I don't know how many different little pieces, like a little part right there, a little plate with some rivets on, a little vent, little rectangle, blank one, bevel, all kinds of different little things. You can take your little character and just stick them on them little facets, them little flat areas, and you could just build you. Let me just show you what I did on the computer. So I got up in my old school 3D software and just started roughing it out, and just made me some little pieces, sculpt some little basic things. And I said, it would be really neat to make something that I would actually want to have, to play with, to customize, modify, and even got me some sizes in mind. I constrain certain things to proportions. Anyway, so you can just customize, and it'll come with all these little pieces in a little bag or something. Probably try to do something kind of nice, little bag type of thing. But anyway, and the head would be made out of a flexible material, See how that's flexible? And so I was sitting there playing, and I've been playing with different colors, and what I would like to do is have the head be orange color, And then the suit be either just a primer gray or a primer white, you know, default generic, so that you can either leave it that way or you can paint it to your satisfaction. You know, I've been playing with little different colors and things like that. And I even started to get a little carried away. I said, you know, we could even make us a little extra head pack that you can buy, and it would be that face. Or no, excuse me, that's probably the default that it comes with it. But you know, you can have that big old happy face, the little concerned looking face, that little different little quirky looking little face right there. And then one of my sons said, Dad, that's like DLC. And I said, what? I said, DLC, what's that sound like? A sandwich to me. And he said, that's mean download contents. In a previous day, you could just buy you a game at the store like that right there and take it home, and it just always would be the way that you bought it. But my son told me that when you buy a game now, it's not the final game that you get. You can keep on downloading things onto it. In the simple days, it just was, you know, that's your game. You ain't have to add on to it. And you know, wait 2 or 3 weeks for something to load down on the computer. What was I talking about? Oh, anyway, so I learned about what DLC stands for. And then what else am I telling y'all? Something. I like asymmetric stuff. If something goes that way, something goes that way. And yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. Oh, speaking of that right there, this right there is a character called AGUA. And I wasn't really thinking too long term when I came up with that name. I just said, what's the Spanish word for water? I said, all right, well, compromiso, I'm going to make the agua. This actually, even more so than the free range chicken, this actually is my favorite character sculpt that I have ever made. And I no longer have the original because I sold it when we were trying to raise money to buy supplies, resin, silicone for the free range chicken. However, I still had my game mode from production. I went ahead and just pawed me up some, popped them out, and took the best one of that, made sure that it looked good, the surface was good, and then I made it out to ArtLab 3D. They're the ones who scan the free range chicken. Alright, so I got the 3D files back on the computer. Look at that right there. That's crazy to me that we can even, you know, do these kinds of things nowadays. Something that you make with your hand out of epoxy clay, you can send it to somebody. And then $35, by the way. And then there you go. And then what can you do with it? That right there. To give you an idea of the comparisons, that's the original size, and then that's the way that I printed it out. Right there. I have got several questions before when I did my Lego video, and I've used these a couple 3 times in my video, and people have asked me about this. This little light is called the LUMECUBE. The reason how come I got this, number one, the size of it is the reason, you know, because I do, you know, planned on wanting to do some stop motions and things, and so, you know, it's a good little size, and you can clamp it literally onto the wall. You know, if you do Legos animations, you could just clamp that right there and then point your light down at your subjects. And it's got the barn doors right there, so you can shape your light and then take that off with a magnet, and then you can take right there and then put you a different color gel, change the whole mood of it. And obviously you would never want to use a battery powered light in a stop motion. So the main reason I went on ahead and got it is because it's got this power option on top. And so you plug that into a USB power outlet, and then there you go, you got you some continuous power. And I like the idea behind these lights, I will say that. But whenever I was making my little my video about doing the little sticker customized Lego mouse and things, one of the lights started flickering on me. It just would go poof, 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 like that right there. And I said, that's crazy. And so I played with it. I thought maybe I'd hit the button, did some settings wrong or something, but it just started doing that on it. That's my glove. It started doing that on its own. So I said something's going on, so we sent it back to the manufacturer. They sent 2 brand new ones of these, and then it worked for a little while, and then it got to where it started flickering again. I just got to where I couldn't even get it to power on, even with it plugged into the wall. So do I recommend the LUMECUBE? I think it's just they maybe haven't figured out the right kind of LEDs yet that's long lasting, you know. I think they're gonna get it figured out though. But I hope my one just keeps on lasting me a while so I can still use it. But that's the LUMECUBEs. So we hoping to have a release of this before the end of the year. I'm already got me some header cards and things like that in production. We got some, you know, it's going to be in a header card in a bag and thing. My other little figure right there is going to be down the road a little more. I'm not going to rush that one. I'm going to take my time on that. Oh my goodness. Disappointments right there. Let me get this out the way. That might confuse. Do y'all remember when I was taking a character out of the mold? I thought that there would be a chance that this could happen. What happened? And what had happened is the mold star is what they call a platinum cured silicone. Alright. And you know, I have heard people say before that with some 3D print resins, 3D printed objects, it will inhibit the cure of the silicone. I have used before and made a mold of that just like it is. Made all kinds of little casts out of it with no problem. So I just wanted to say real quick a little side note that it really depends on, I suppose, the type of 3D print resin. All around it was just gummy fad mess. It was not cured. So I took the character out and cleaned it up real good. And this basically is not a usable mold right there. Okay. See, that's supposed to be smooth right there on that little belly. It's just all bumpy in there. So that was what they call extremely disappointment right there. And I was very happy with this style of mold, you know, as far as it's a 2-part mold, but the seams would go along the bottom of the character. See that? And then I could just pop it. And then once them 2 little eye sockets, you know, pop, pop, you go pop like that. And then you can just pull it on out. So I said, Crafsman, you finally done made you a decent production mode or something. Alright. But it did not work. Why come? Is because it was a 3D printed object. The 3D print resin inhibited the cure of the platinum silicone. So here's what I did. I took my same object and I went over that thing with several coats of a primer, a matte primer, so that I could maintain the matte feel of the object, you know what I'm saying? Here, let me clean my hands off before I handle this, but anyway, get the focus there. There we go. So look at that. And so there we go, is nice and smooth. I was all excited. So this is a matte primer that I put on that thing. I said, oh, this is gonna work real good now, cause you can't even, you know, the 3D print is all done sealed up. So then I made a mold of that, and so I took this thing out of the new mold, this mold number 2, second one right there, and it turned out even worse. Look at this. I said, you have got to be playing with me about to see that. So to show y'all how bad it is, I took me some smooth cast 45D and mixed it up with some little bit of some little blue color right there. And this is what it looked like. Look at that mess. I mean, that's just gunkified looking. See that? So, what we going to do about this? We're not going to quit. We're going to just keep on rolling with it. So this is what I'm thinking. I have already ordered on speedy delivery some 10 karat silicone. What am I trying to say? Some 10 karat silicone. And then another thing we're going to try, I reached out to my buddy Jason at Smooth On. If you seeing this, Mr. Jason, thank you. He said that I might want to try specifically Krylon crystal clear sealer. Alright. So I'm about to run to the hardware store and see if I can get some hold to some of that. And we're going to spray this gentleman and try again with the mold stock. Alright, series 15 slow. Alright, and if that don't work, then the 10 karat should be coming in tomorrow. And that's a mold mix. It's a different kind of silicone. And then that's something that you probably would not want to use long term, but it would be good enough to get a copy of this. Capture every bit of the detail, the surface quality, texture, everything just like you like it. And from that cast, then you can make all y'all production mold. You know, you can make your buku, you know, platinum cure silicone mold. And so I hope this is not too much information. It's a lot of technical stuff, but I really like to share these things for anybody that might could help y'all. If that does not work, then I'm going to try this right there. Composite mold. The closest thing I have used to that is a little product called Instamorph. And all that is these little pellets. Can melt it down with a little heat gun. You can use it for mold and keep on reusing it. I have never used this for one reason and one reason only. Crafsman does not own a microwave. But we can do it with a double boiler, something like that, you know. Correct? You know, if something fails on you and then it fails again, you know, there's still a lot more opportunities that it can fail on you, but then eventually something's going to happen. Either it's going to work, or you're going to come away from that knowing a whole lot more than you did, and you can maybe help somebody else. And so, hey. Oh, how about some good news, Crafsman? The good news is the Tony singles came in individual packets. We bought us a whole bunch of the little individual single packets, and I've been sending them to people in the mail. I guess that's appropriate to do that. But anyway, whenever we release these figures, not this one, but the big one I just was holding a little while ago, then I'm probably going to be throwing y'all in there some little Tony's package called. It's crazy how people don't know about Tony's. That's crazy to me. Anyway, Creole seasoning right there. So that's a really good little boom shakalaka right there. Normally I don't be recommended to do spray painting inside your workshop area, but because today is drizzly, wet outside, I said, you know what, I'm gonna come up in here and spray paint. But I got my respirator on, as you can see, as you can maybe hear. hopefully the sour cream container does the trick. Now I'm applying, hopefully the acrylic sealer is really what does the trick. They both have been sealed, but one is sealed over the 3D print, one is sealed directly over the original primer that I had put on. But I did notice that I can get more economy of space if I use 16-ounce sour cream can containers instead of, you know, I was using peanut containers. That's a peanut container. And I guess sometimes you have to mix up your silicone with a Krylon. You know, that's my old little tiny vacuum chamber that y'all may have seen before. And it just was getting difficult doing 3, 4, 5 different, you know, vacuum pulls at a time. So I went on ahead and got me one of these right there. Look at this mess right there. We out here. It's the next morning and we're going to check and see. As you can see, it's not a problem with the silicone. Silicone works like it's supposed to. All right. And so the way I make these molds, just so y'all know, is that I like to have a good top on it, you know. So it's a good lid. It's got a little bit of weight to it. For example, with this container right there, you see how it goes down slanted. And normally what I would do to make my lid is just to pour me some tape or something, a little retaining wall around the top, and then pour my other silicone. But you see how it's slanted? However, that top ring right there is straight. So that's kind of like you a reference edge for your, can put your tape on it. It will make sense in a minute, hopefully. Let's see. It might not be the prettiest job, you know. So this is looking so far like what happened last time when I opened the other mold. There is some uncured silicone. However, when I normally do me a little simple cup mold where I glue the character's feet down into the bottom of the cup, I'm always used to seeing uncured silicone. I did not on the previous molds, you know, go and peel it back, because what you also don't want to do is break that seal, and when you pour your other silicone lid on top of it, it can leak down in there. However, I don't want to waste any more silicone, so I've got to kind of see. Pull things back a little bit. I decided to go ahead and just open up this other mold just to see, and look at this right there. And I can tell right off the bat. See that? See all up in there? That's the one that had been primed, you know. But I sealed the bottom, even though that bottom's still gray. You know, I sealed it with the acrylic sealer. So the bottom of this one looks the same way. However, I went ahead and took the container off of it, and look at this right there. This mold right there, even though I put about 4 or 5 coats of sealer on it, you know, it did the same thing as the other molds. So if you pour resin into this mold right now, then your character will come out looking something like that. See, all messed up looking. I'm going to take that over to my cleaning station and get that all cleaned up. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and see how that's got a little bit of it sticks to a little bit. There's a chance that this one might have cured. But I'm going to go ahead and just take this off. And then we're going to peel it back. Like I said, normally you don't want to break the seal of your first half. You want to keep the object intact, undisturbed, so that you don't have silicone leaking down into it. But, you know, now we can see. And like I said, I will just emphasize again, normally when you're doing a 2-part mold, you don't ever want to sit here and tug on it before you pour your other half. Let's see. Well, hold up. I mean, so far that looks good. I'm not, you know, you don't hear the, you know. There's a chance that this one is good. So I might just go ahead and just use a little bit to pour a half on this one. So now the catch-22 is I have pulled this apart and checked it. I don't see any gooky mess up in there. And so what I'm thinking is that the rest of this mold should be good. And I'm not taking that big of a chance, you know, just pouring about that much more silicone on top. So instead of just trying to just take everything out and disturb it too much, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure everything is snug back together, but not deformed like that. You just want to make sure that you still got you somewhat of a seal. You know, the viscosity of silicone, it shouldn't leak back down into there. You know what I'm saying? So I just match everything back up like that right there. And then make us a lid. And, you know, just jerry rig it all the way. See what happens. And that's what I call a reusable bucket. Petroleum jelly. And just for anybody that may not know, even though I've shown this quite a few times in my program, but this will keep that next layer of silicone from sticking to it. Alright. This is kind of the modus operandi for if you're doing 2-part silicone molds. So, when I told y'all we finna jerry rig this, y'all probably thought I was just playing with y'all. Look at that. A good friend of mine's uncle had a VHS rental store. About the time he was rearranging his shelves to fit the DVD formats instead of the VHS, he said, I'm going to simplify this. So instead of having, you know, comedy, drama, romance, action, different categories, he just divided the whole store up into 2 separate categories: pre-apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic. And eventually they had to close down the store. Well, it does not look like it's leaking yet, but I'm going to periodically check on it because it's got a 4-hour carrier time. It's pretty disheartening to see that much wasted silicone, ain't it? So you might be asking, well, what do you do with those molds right there? I would tell you a trick that I learned from my man Steve, who has a channel. You can actually take them things, chop up that silicone, and use it in another mold to fill up the space. And that will save you a bunch of silicone. So something to keep in mind, if you're running low on your silicone, chop up your old molds like that right there. I know I've mentioned things about platinum cured silicone versus tin cured silicone. Smooth On's Mold Star Series is a platinum cured silicone. It's actually my favorite type of silicone because they hold up to a lot of wear and tear. That's how we did all the free range chicken molds. That's a library life, you know. That means you can put your mold up in the library and then go get it later and keep on making you some stuff. However, it doesn't like certain types of surfaces. You know, I've told y'all a bunch of times that sulfur clay, for example, is one of the worst offenders. And as we've seen today, certain types of print 3D resin. So what can we do? The alternative is something like that right there. And it don't have to necessarily be mold mix, alright, but this is a tin cure silicone. So it's got some pros and cons. The pro is that you can use this to make casts of, you know, 3D prints without having to seal them or nothing. It just goes on ahead and does it. This particular one captures detail really well. The downside is it's going to have a little more shrink activity to the mold. It's going to have more tendency to crack. It's not going to have the tear resistance. So why do I say all of that? I really like the surface of this particular. I said, you know, it's just all that work I put into surfacing and smoothing and all. And I said, you know, I'd hate to just waste it. I said, why don't we just try this tin cure? Get you a good, highly detailed capture of this. And then you take that resin cast of this. And then you can make a cast of it out of Mold Star. You don't want to go too many generations away from something, make a copy of something, make a copy of that and a copy of that. We talked about that briefly before. You would only want to do that one time, and that's your new master copy in plastic resin that you can make out of platinum cured silicone, and it'll last you decades. You know what I'm saying? It'll last you a long time. If we want the eyes to be glossy, you could take you something like this right there. You can sit up in there and, you know, go through all these different ones. And then I just took me a shop cloth like that right there. Watch this. Watch this what I'm about to show y'all. Get ready. Get ready for this right there. Now, see how glossy that is? The silicone will actually capture that detail. It will capture every little surface quality of your sculpt, your object. And then that means all the cast that you pull out of that mold is going to be glossy right there, matte right there. Just wanted to show y'all that. Another downside to this particular silicone is it is not a 1-to-1 by volume. You gotta mix it by weight. Go ahead and get you a kitchen scale. This particular one right there is 100A to 10B. Crafsman, don't you mean 10-to-1 ratio? I'm just telling you what it says right there on the box. There, right there. 14.5, but I probably need to go to, let's see. What's that? Alright, so that's the measurement we interested in. I was going to go write that down, 14, but that's very easy for me to remember because that was my very first Christmas present was a 14. Alright. Alright, now what some people might would do is just to keep the same thing on there and just hit tear. And then just go ahead and add the second part. But to me, that's a little bit risky. So what I like to do is to set that over there. Let's put the lid back on. Mold Max 40. Alright, so this says shake well before using. So we're going to tear that. Alright. Now then, we're going to pour 41 grams up into that. Wait a second. Yeah, okay. Ah, snap. I went to 42. Probably that would be okay. But we're going to use this old school technique. I learned this on the Indian reservation. For real though. What is going on up here? Alright, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to go with that right there. Normally I would like to have me a bigger cup than this because when you get to mix it in a little small vessel like that and you ain't got that much room on top, that's a recipe for some overspill mess looking. And so, anyway. Yeah, that ain't going to work. Oh, okay. I should have just done this tube again with right there. And this right there is some thick stuff. I'm telling you right now. So my friendly little popsicle stick may not cut it. Do y'all watch the Crafsman Instead of Crafting? What's that about? It's just a video program where this man takes silicone and dumps it all over his workshop. You know, and just makes a mess, but tries to, you know, illustrate things. We about to call in the reinforcements. Oh, snap. That's a pretty color. What do y'all call that? Mint green. Sometimes I want to smooth on and then see my videos every once in a while and think, what in the world is this man doing? I'm gonna go throw that in the vacuum chamber real quick since it's a 45-minute pot life. You know, we got plenty of time to do that. It's pretty good timing on all this because it is just about lunchtime. So I can go eat me a lunch thinking about hopefully one of these is going to work. And if both of them turned out, then you know that's what we call a win-win right there. There was this old married couple. This man and woman had been married for so long that both of them forgot their wedding anniversary date. They could not remember what day it was that they got married on. Neither one of them could. So I guess that's your classic win-win situation. W-H-E-N. Crafsman, I'm telling you, I'm about to unsubscribe from you in just a little bit. If you keep on with them jokes, I am going to leave your channel. Y'all hang with me. Come on now. Y'all want to see something crazy? Look at this right there. I'm just going to go on ahead. You just got to get your money's worth. That's how come I don't take my mama to the buffet anymore, because, you know, she said we paid for it. Now we cooking with gasoline. I'm telling y'all, one of these has got to work. And if this don't work, then we just going to, you know, let somebody overseas make this figure, you know. I'm just playing with y'all. We're going to go on to the next plan. But let's just hope this one works. I'm going to go get me some lunch real quick. That looks pretty good right there. I don't see no goopy galoppy mess on it. Let's see down in here. Y'all, it looks like we might have just got us a successful mold. Let's see if we can do us a test cast of this little figure right there. Now, before we begin, I would like to point something out that you will notice that there's no vents in this mold right there. So anybody that's done resin casting before would know that all the bubbles is going to come up and they just going to hit that right there. So that when you take out the character, it's just going to be bubbles and holes out in the bottom of it like that. What I'm going to do is, a lot of times I like to put my vents in after the fact. Alright, so I do a cast and we're going to see what kind of bubbles we're looking at and things like that. You can always just take you an X-Acto knife and cut you a spot in there. You can even take you some brass tube like that right there. And you can just push that tube through there and make you a nice clean hole. I'm going to be using Smoothcast 45D for the test. And that's just simply because it's got a longer pot life. And, you know, I can just give me more time to kind of not to be in a rush, but when we get into production with these, probably I would be using Smoothcast 65D like we did for the free range chicken, which is opaque. You know, this is going to be translucent. This will allow me to do a comparison to this test cast I did in that messed up mode, just so you can see the dramatic of depth. Alright, let's see. And what's going to happen is, let's go pour some up in there. It's going to overflow out the sides. There we go. And Yeah, just like that right there. Precise. I actually wound up putting this in the pressure chamber. Alright. Let's see. There we go. That right there is what I'm talking about. So I can see from this that I need to, put me a little vent. And the bottom, that's going to be easy. Actually, I wound up not having to cut anything into this. I did this little test cast right there. With no bubbles and without cutting anything into my mold. Because how come? I simply put this thing in my pressure pot and tilted it like that right there. And so all the bubble ran out through them cracks right there. When it comes down to it, I don't think we're going to be able to pressure cast every one of these. Probably what I'm going to do in all practicality for intensive purpose and situations is hold the mold like that right there. I think what I like about this the most is there's no seam lines in it. The seam lines is along the edge of the character right there. Doing the mold this way, you don't have seam line going up this way or going down there, going along the edge, And so you get a smooth character. I like that. And look at that. All I got to do now is pour the top of this. Then I got me another mold ready to go. It's always a good feeling having you a production mold. That means you can go on ahead and just start producing you some figures or whatever your object is that you're trying to duplicate. Might even do us a limited edition stress reliever one. See that? This is my longest episode ever, but I have had many people time and again tell me, Crafsman, please feel free to share when you make mistakes and things, because that's how I learn. Probably what happened is you won't have exactly these same problems I ran into. But if you do, just remember that in life we're going to face trials and tributaries and things are going to come our way, but you just gotta keep on stepping and dodging and moving and maneuvering and roll with the punches, all them kinds of things like that. It feels good when you're crafting, good when you start crafting. Find out, can you hug somebody, get their permission, then hug them, then say, that's belong to you, a gift from me. This episode was crazy, wasn't it?